Hello, and welcome back to Drama After Dark, GBH's live drama after show, where tonight we are super excited to be talking about Masterpiece's new show, Roadkill, which just premiered an hour ago. I'm Jackie Bruley, joined as always by the delightful Andrea Willanen. How are you doing, Andrea? How is your life these days?
Well, I'm not Roadkill, so that's a start, I guess.
I promise we'll only make like one bad Roadkill pun an episode.
Yeah, I was going to say an episode.
I'm making that promise, but I don't know if that's a promise we can keep because we are just that way.
Yeah, that's a tricky one for us, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's a little tough. Now look, I think a lot of people maybe just watched the show, but we're still going to do our speed recap because it is how we do. We like to torture ourselves.
And we can't just think about, the people tuning in now. We have to think about future generations of Drama After Dark fans, right?
Right. All those folks who are going to tune in 2 weeks and they're like, wait, what happened in that first episode? Yeah, sure.
Oh,
I like it.
I was thinking like 2032, but that's just me.
Who knows what'll happen in 2032, Andrea? We might all live on the moon. It's wet,
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I think you are going to kick off our little speed recap this week, Jackie.
Unfortunately, that is a fact. I have drawn that short straw. Although I will say, this is as plotty as it was. A little bit easier to distill, perhaps, than some of our previous shows, so I'm feeling somewhat confident, which, as we know, is like my death knell on this show.
Yeah, it always is. Well, I think it's not a Poldark, which has been notoriously our hardest one yet.
Yes.
Or Call the Midwife, which seemed easy and then wound up like our hubris got the best of us. So
yes, I think that's exactly right. So we're gonna have to find out.
Yeah. So
I'm ready.
Yes, I am.
I have it. I have the timer. Oh, Peter Lawrence, a folksy man of the people British MP, just won a legal case against a newspaper who claimed he was trying to sell out the NHS for personal gain. Instead of going to Disney World, he's off to a prison, where he learns he might have a secret daughter. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister messes with him, the paper he beat fires, then rehires his reporter enemy, and his barrister meets with a mysterious woman named Margaret, who is intent on taking him out. Oh, I could have put more in. Shoot!
You could have! You were so close!
This is always the way it goes, right? We think we're down to the wire, and then I left out maybe some details. But those are kind of the key talking points.
Did you talk about the Prison Riot?
I did not talk about the Prison Riot. That is kind of a key point that I left out.
Just a key part of the storyline.
I figured it'd be on the recap that next week, because I'm sure that the riot will continue, right? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems to have reached an apex, but we haven't seen it come down yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm sure there's plenty more time to mention the riot.
There's always more time to mention the riot, right? Well,
yeah.
let's
go the fire.
Right, exactly. So let's talk about some of our favorite moments from this episode, because I think we had a few.
I mean, it was hard to choose when we were talking about this. We usually have like a solid few. But this show is really creative in how it tells the story, and we all know I'm a sucker for that. So as soon as they start using like multiple storytelling devices, I'm like, oh, hello. And it's not to say that there's, anything not creative about our other British drama shows that we cover, but a lot of times they use the tried and true storytelling devices, whereas this one's more modern and it's trying new pieces. And to that point, for instance, one of my favorite moments was the opening scene where you hear two reporters sort of like dueling sides talking about what went on with Peter Lawrence. And not only using that do you learn about Peter Lawrence, but you're also introduced to the majority of the main characters in this episode. As you're watching him, you see Margaret go by, played by Katie Leung, who most people will know as Cho Chang from the Harry Potter series. You see Charmian go by. You see Marsha Thomason. Not Marsha Thomason. Wrong show. But
they all blur together.
I know. But you see like all the characters going by and you're just like, this is amazing. I'm learning so much in this like less than 2-minute segment. Yeah. I loved that part.
Just a brilliant way to kick something off, and very unusual compared to a lot of the other things we've seen. So it added a lot of flavor and a lot of fun, and it felt like we were just watching it on TV, but they didn't dumb it down too much. So even though we were getting all that info dump information, it still kind of felt like we were just catching a news program, which I thought was really balanced very well, which is kind of difficult to do. So that was cool.
Yeah, I really liked that, and I also liked it. Felt like a docudrama in some
yes.
ways.
Well, and then you go from that into this new. I love the theme song for this. I know that's like a weird thing to pick up on, but the theme was great, and it really did it for me.
It did, and I said this to you when we first talked about this. Was like, the theme is cool, the animation is really cool, and I'm not surprised you like it at all because it has like a James Bond vibe to it. Like it's that sort of piano-y, like tiptoey music with a funky animation. I was like, oh, Jackie's gonna love this.
Right? It's very much up my street. And I guess speaking of that sneaking around kind of vibes, I think we have to talk about that last meeting that he had with the PM where he thinks he's about to get like the job offer of his life, and instead it's like kind of a crappy cabinet position, or we're led to believe it's a crappy cabinet position. I don't really know enough about this.
I mean, I think being a minister of anything is not a crappy position, but you know, that's just me. I might be wrong.
Kind of like at the top of your game, sir. Like, I don't know what you're complaining about. You can spin this and make it work.
I mean, I guess it's not, you know, King Minister, but here we are. I loved that scene. So, interestingly enough, Katie Leung, we might know as Cho Chang from Harry Potter, but the Prime Minister, Helen McCrory, played Narcissa Malfoy in Harry Potter, which when I found that out, like, I was watching this, I did not make the connection at all. And I was like, this woman is boss and crazy. And I actually was like, this feels like major Slytherin vibes. And then Jackie's like, oh, that was Narcissa Malfoy. And my brain just did that like supernova. Yeah, I was like, of course it is. Of course it is.
Of course it is. Yeah. One thing I love a Cloak and Dagger late night meeting between two people who are both definitely morally bankrupt and have done something horrible. And they're just playing like chess against each other, and the levels that were going on in that conversation were really fun to watch, and he needed to be outsmarted. I like that.
I get what you're saying. I will say that I think she was playing chess, he was playing checkers. That's my only note on that meeting.
Interesting. I do think in this meeting he was probably playing checkers, maybe a little Connect Four because he was, you know, caught on the back foot from that whole messy little legal argument.
Yeah.
But I think I have faith that he will be playing chess soon, which is what made it fun, is you like to see someone lose when you know that they can handle themselves.
Yeah.
And he, I feel like, can do that.
Yeah. One of the other little game moments I liked in this was when Charmian finally makes it back to the office and is like to our Uncle Carrie, editor Carrie. Most people will notice the editor from the newspaper as Uncle Carrie from Poldark. When she comes back and just like sort of snaps him like out, and it was amazing. Like just when she's like, hey, guess what? You're going to do this for me or I'm going to sue you for sexual harassment. Oh, it was
made me so happy. She did the right thing. He deserved it. Just perfect. Now, those are our favorite moments. But of course, we would like to know what your favorite moments were. So please send us what you thought about the show tonight, what you liked, what you want to see in the future on Facebook. You can do it on Twitch, and you can do it on YouTube or, you know, Twitter. Just use hashtag #DramaAfterDark, and our trusty social media manager, Zach, will be combing through your comments and sending them to me as you get them. I'm going to check the phone and see if we've got anything. It's a little early days, but we gotta look.
I don't know. I was on there earlier. It was pretty lively.
The Twitter discussion was poppin'.
It was.
Love to see so many people notice the same weird little details, like Peter Lawrence's mistress's lobster shoes seem to be a big topic of discussion, which...
Well, because they were amazing shoes. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I would personally like to own those shoes myself.
Well, I know what to get you for Christmas. I mean, they're probably out of my budget for your Christmas present, to be honest.
I was also going to say, Andrea, I don't think I'm going to need to wear shoes for the foreseeable future. So, like, let's be real.
Fine.
All right. I think we're going to go into our next segment here. The long-awaited, much enjoyed, hot take debate. Da-da-da! All right, so tonight's topic, we are going to be debating, who do we trust less, Peter or the Prime Minister?
Ooh,
Both
okay.
shady characters, both
Okay.
something going on beneath the posh veneer or the folksy veneer. The veneers have
Yes.
flares.
Never trust somebody with veneers.
You can never go to Hollywood, Andrew. You gotta be careful. If that is your policy. All right, so which side did you want to do on this one?
I'm going to say that I think Peter's less trustworthy.
Okay. I like it. I respect it. I'm happy to argue the opposition there. Would you like to do the honors and kick things off?
Ooh, okay. All right,
You don't have
so
to.
no, I'll do it. It's fine.
Okay.
You take the easy way out. I'll kick it off. So I think Peter is much less trustworthy for many reasons. First of all, I did say that I thought he was playing checkers while the PM's playing chess in that final scene with the two of them. However, I think that makes him less trustworthy and actually more dangerous, because we all know that the most dangerous kind of animal is a cornered animal, and that's who he is now. He is cornered by a lot of situations here, and he's going to do anything to get out of there. Second of all, we don't know, he gives this big talk of being like, hey, he was a swinging 60s guy, but not every swinging 60s guy has that many illegitimate children out there that he can't keep track of where they are. I think that was my big problem here. So he kept being like, another one? Who knew? Nobody was counting. I mean, come on. You might not have been counting, but you would probably know where your illegitimate children are at. I'm just putting that out there. That's just me. And then last of all, the way he controls his office makes me very suspicious. So the scene where we see his secretary come in and she has like a tiny little stain from her child on her blouse. And he just looks at it until she's like, I'm so sorry, and runs off and changes into an identical blouse. That creeps me out that he has some weird, I don't know, Christian Grey thing going on there, control issues overall. I don't know what's happening. I don't like it. I don't trust him one bit. She might be sneaky and might be double dealing, but I think overall she has the people's best interests at heart.
Ooh, bold choice. Okay, so I'm going to try and go point by point, starting with the blouse thing, because Blousegate did mess me up too. I did not like that. But I will say, like, the PM is wearing a powder blue skirt suit, which, yes, looks incredible. But do you really trust a woman who can keep that thing clean and stain-free? Like, I do not. I think that anybody who can go through life and not get tea or biscuit crumbs or, like, she must be eating, like, plain white rice only to not get anything on there. I can't trust that. So just from, like, a aesthetics question, that's where I'm at with her.
To the Dolores Umbridge of England in this?
Why,
show?
yes, ma'am. I sure am. I mean, the vibe is there for sure. Also, the helmet hair, like, to maintain. Look, anyone who's that put together gives off a real Stepford vibe for me, and I have to question it. Although, like, I'm sure that's part of her job. Her image is so tightly controlled that I have to assume that there's something dark lurking underneath it that warrants that lockdown of everything. The cloak and dagger stuff all came from her, the late night meetings, the, like, very obvious obfuscation of, yes, like, you know exactly who's messing up and that's whose job you're gonna get, which was not true. It was a full-on lie. And she's actively rooting around in his dirt, just digging for the scraps. And she's not even doing it herself. She's making her very high-powered and scary lackey do it. Which
you don't want to make
an
enemy of Julia.
Julia might actually be the one we trust the least out of all of these people.
Yeah, I have to say, Julia is pretty scary to me. I hear what you're saying about the PM. Did you have any last points to make, or is it?
My only other thing is that she has such a sort of, like, party over country over party. Like, I think this is a weird concept that seems to transcend everywhere. It's in everybody's politics. But there's something about her inviting all these business leaders in and like schmoozing them and then talking crap about them right afterwards, that like it feels very insincere. For like, all politicians are getting money from someone. Come on, don't be crappy to your rich donors. I don't know. She just like pinged a lot of like snake in the grass alarm bells for me the whole time. The suit really was a big part of it.
The suit was the big one. Of all the pieces in it, it was the suit that did it for you.
Look, I am afraid of a powder blue suit, and I will not apologize for that.
The thing that I feel, I get what you're saying. I, however, feel that Peter doesn't talk to anybody about his snake in the grass things, and that's what I think makes him more challenging. She talks to Julia, so Julia is really the one in control, I think, here. So really what I'm saying is, yes, Julia is the one that we trust the least in this situation. I mean, she's hooking up with Peter's assistant. How trustworthy can she be?
The fact that there's like spies on the inside of Peter's operation and he doesn't even begin to know about it is very problematic, especially because that kid clearly idolizes him and somehow hasn't figured out that he is putting everything in jeopardy. Like, he doesn't have the smartest people on his team, and for that alone, I'm like, maybe you aren't an evil mastermind, because if you're a good mastermind, you have henchmen, and the PM has a henchwoman in Julia. She knows, you know.
I think we're going to have to yet again agree to disagree on this one.
It's fair, I suppose we will.
And I'm curious if we have any thoughts on this or any of those favorite moments in our social media feed. Yeah.
A wonderful question. Let me take a look at the old social phone. So let's see.
Those are the only questions I have.
We have a comment from Twitch, actually. Hello, Twitch viewers.
Hello, Twitch.
This is our first time on Twitch, so this is exciting. From Vid Not Dave, who says, finally bringing the drama to Twitch.
Yes, we're trying. We are trying.
We're trying. Yeah, we're doing our best.
Bring your friends. Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, we've actually got a Julia comment from Twitter here. The Prime Minister has great confidence in you. If you could bottle sarcasm, Julia's voice would be a natural resource. Facts.
I love
facts.
Julia is a natural. Julia's a national and natural resource.
Look at that. Look at that. We'll keep them coming, guys, because we want to see more of your thoughts and feelings and confusions, because there was a lot that happened in this episode.
There was.
And speaking of thoughts and feelings, we're going on now to a segment that we call, of course, Crystal Ballers, wherein we will be predicting what we think is going to happen this season on Roadkill.
And boy, did we have a lot of thoughts and feelings about it.
We sure did. And I think we tried to go as sort of, look, there are some safe bets here. We didn't just do safe bets because we think it is our duty to try and, like, make it a little harder on ourselves. So some of these are a little out there and wacky, but look, what can I say? That's what we're here to do. So let's start with one of our first predictions here, which I don't think is that crazy, which is that the young lady who covered the camera with the sweater in the middle of the riot is, in fact, the secret daughter. And that the media is going to say that he got this justice job in order to, like, pull strings and look out for her. So he will be made to look bad for this. I think this was your prediction.
Or this was my prediction. I think either the media is going to pull it that he's trying to cover up for her and sort of hide her crimes, or the media is going to tie it that he's trying to hide her deeper into the prison. And I think that actually ties into our second guess, which was that the drug bust that we saw in the prison was actually a cover-up to try and get rid of the woman who was coming to him with the fact about his daughter. And I think that was actually yours.
That was mine. So here's the thing. I could totally see this man setting up a drugs bust at this prison, like calling it a tip or whatever. I don't really know how exactly the system works in British private prisons, but I have to assume that if you are, like, a concerned citizen and you call in, like, the terrible bureaucracy that is at work here will go and, like, do this, like, arbitrary sweep that just happened to happen right after he visits. Come on. Too easy too tight of a connection.
Yeah, and not even like right after he visited. Like there was enough time there to make it feel
and also,
like
something happened. I also could see him planting drugs in their cell. He seems like just corrupt enough to do something goofy like that.
Yeah, well, I think it was through his assistant there, the sweet, idolizing little guy who I loved him in this. He was really good. I forget the character's name now. Oh my gosh! But I thought
do too. But yes, he's.
When you have Julia as the other assistant, you kind of can't help but fade back into the background. But I thought he and Hugh Laurie had a really good patter. And I thought overall it was really I could see him being the one to be like, hey, we were just in that prison and some girl told us that she had drugs.
Yes.
I don't know why in this scenario he's Alexis from Schitt's Creek, but here we are.
Honestly, I would watch the heck out of that. He's a little less bumbling than the person I always think of him as is Gary on Veep, played by Tony Hale, who is like incredibly sweet and very loyal and like kind of a doofus. And I kept thinking like, oh, you're a little smarter than Gary, I guess, but yikes. So there we are.
I think we had one last crystal baller prediction. And I think this one's a little, I thought this was one of our safer ones, actually, which is that Margaret is actually Peter's love child as well.
Yes, or is the only one. Like, we don't really know for sure that his child, or the person that we're being told is his child, is in fact imprisoned. Like, we just know that they know Steph somehow. So it would be really interesting. And this woman is trying to take him down, which good for her. I love it.
But you wonder, I mean, she's trying to take him down, and it's clear that she has some information via his chauffeur, but the chauffeur isn't always given enough information. Like, we even saw that in that scene, right? Where she said, where should I pick you up tomorrow? And he goes, I'll call you.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah, so she doesn't necessarily have all the information that would, do him dirty. But I think, I think there's something more there. And I think that's a good indication based on her age and the age of the other women we're seeing that are purported to be his kids. So
it would be kind of great if it's just this like daughter army coming to take him down. I don't think the show is actually going there, but it would be kind of fun. Weirdest girl squad ever. I am not mad at it.
Oh, you clearly haven't seen Birds of Prey yet. So
it would have some of that vibe, yes, for sure. Now, speaking of girl squads, I hope you're excited, Andrea, because we're going to one of our favorite segments, a perennial favorite of the Drama After Dark team. It's Megan in the Field. Megan!
And pray tell, what is Megan here to teach us about today?
Well, Andrea,
hi guys.
It's Megan. Welcome, Megan. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We're excited that you're here today to join us because we realized as we were watching this that we do not know anything about British politics other than what we've gleaned from such, really great films as Love Actually and other terrible American exports and Roadkill. So if we're hoping that you can, make us a little less silly.
There's another one.
That's so funny. I was thinking about what shows have I learned British politics through. I didn't think of Love Actually. I thought of, The Crown, King's Speech, Bodyguard on Netflix, but that didn't come to mind.
So like good TV is what you're telling me.
Yeah. No, there's no. You can enjoy whatever you want, Jackie.
Notice she didn't come for me with that one. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she knows that you don't like that movie. You're not horrible like I am. Now, Megan.
'Tis the season.
Right? Yeah, I guess we're getting into that cold winter months here. So we know that Peter starts out as the Minister of Transport. What is that? What does that mean? What does he do? What's his deal?
Great question, Jackie. I was doing research for this, and I think of the ministers as kind of like what we have here, cabinet members. So if you think of a lot of the prominent positions in government, there's Secretary of State, there's Attorney General, there's Secretary of Education. Those are all appointed by the American president. So Peter, as the transport minister, is basically, he's appointed by the prime minister, and he's in charge of the transport department, as they like to say. We say transportation, but they say transport. It sounds fancier. And so it's very similar. They're also appointed by the prime minister, like I said, but one of the big differences is they are already elected members of parliament, MPs, whereas in the US, anyone can be appointed a cabinet member. They're usually politicians, let's be real, but so Peter is this high-ranking member of parliament. And I really liked the discussion multiple times in this episode of the great offices of state. And I thought, I was like, is he making that phrase up? It sounds so fancy, but that's actually a real thing. It's four offices. It's four offices that are considered the most important and prestigious. So it's prime minister, who we know, chancellor, who's in charge of finance, the home secretary, and then the foreign secretary. Now, you notice what I didn't list there was justice minister. Which, he wanted a great office so badly. And at the end, the PM thinks that she's doing him a favor, but he doesn't quite get to the great office. So I think he's kind of disappointed. He's quite ambitious, as we know.
Yeah, he really is. That's so interesting. So have they seen before people who weren't so you said only politicians can be appointed, right, Megan? So they just can't just say like,
well, they're taken from members of parliament already. So they're current members of parliament. Yeah. So they're elected.
It'd be like the president had to choose like a sitting senator or something to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like a member of, they elevated a member of Congress to that position.
The difference I'm thinking of is Linda McMahon being appointed small business secretary. Right. She was never a politician, but she has experience growing businesses. Interesting. Okay.
So how exactly, other than this sort of like appointment structure, does the prime minister differ or compare to the American president? They seem kind of on par, but there's obviously something different going on there.
Yeah, so I love this prime minister character. I'm really excited to see what she does. I think it's going to be really fun to watch. But as most people know, the prime minister is very similar to the American president. The big difference is that, obviously, I'm sure viewers know that in the UK, they have a queen who is the official head of state, and they do ceremonial duties. But the prime minister is just in charge of like government and politics. But one of the big differences is that the prime minister is actually not directly elected by the people in the same way that it is here. What happens is the people vote on their members of parliament, and then whichever party gets the most votes, that party then chooses who they want to be to prime minister, who you usually know before the election.
Okay.
And I mean, in the show, whenever
how it is here, right?
I mean, I don't want to get into the whole merit of the electoral college right now, but it's a little different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's so hard. And that's one of the things that's tricky about this show, right? Is watching it, 2 days before the election. You're really, really sweating it a little bit.
I know. Right. It's hard not to, reflect on what's happening in our country with everything.
Yeah. No matter what. But it is a very, for it being political, it's not overtly political in an interesting way.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's do one last question before we send you back off into the field. Obviously, libel law plays a little bit of a role in the show. Can you talk a little bit about how that differs in America versus the UK? Because I know there are some major differences between the two.
Yeah, I'll make this quick because I don't want to get into constitutional law on the show. But the episode starts with, obviously, Peter winning a libel suit against a newspaper. And the US and UK are very similar when it comes to government and laws. But one of the big differences is libel. Basically, the UK doesn't have as much protection of free speech as the US. So in the UK, libel laws are much better at protecting people's reputation than they are protecting journalists. So in American courts, the burden of proof is on the person suing to prove that a story is false, say a politician, if there's a false story. But in Britain, that's actually reversed. The burden of proof is on the author or the journalist to prove that it's true. So in the UK, a plaintiff can sue for libel easily if their reputation is damaged. And that's what we see Peter do. I think we learned through this that he cares a lot about his reputation because he's willing to sue for libel.
Okay. That's fascinating. Well, thank you so much, Megan. This was a
Thank
delight.
you.
I learned a lot, and thank you
Yeah.
for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me in a very historic week with everything going on. So it was
Yeah.
nice to chat about a fictional political world for
Oh,
a
so
change.
nice.
Exactly. Well, speaking of this fictional political world, let's take a quick look and see if we have perhaps a comment of the day, or go check the social phone, see if we've got anything exciting happening over here.
All right.
So it looks like we actually do have a crystal baller out there on Facebook. Anthony
more?
says,
Oh boy.
I can see the plan being to besmirch Lawrence's new position, saying he was in it to protect his daughter, but then it is proven that she is actually not his daughter. Then he is lauded as a hero by the dairy farmers by mandating ice cream for every meal in the prison to curb the riots.
Let me guess, is that my Anthony?
That sure is, yes. Look, I was halfway through this comment, I was like, that seems pretty realistic. I could totally buy this double cross. And then we got to the ice cream, and I think it falls apart a little bit there, but I like where your head's at.
How dare you, Jackie? I think that sounds super realistic, and I'm not just saying that because it's my boyfriend.
Nice. Good save. All right, let's see. What else do we have? We have a few just like really looking forward to seeing this season. We have someone saying that they would watch Hugh Laurie read an appliance manual, which
Sure would.
Same, would do. We have I am growing fond of Charmian. Yes, I agree. I really like her. I can't wait to see more from this
100%.
character.
Yeah.
And I think we'll do this one for comment of the day. I'm not going to turn on the lights. It would suggest a level of confidence I don't have, which is such a great line. It is a great line. And also, you know, that's life, I guess. Sometimes you gotta just keep the lights dark.
That moment was the one that won me for Charmian. I was like, she's so brutally honest, even to herself. Oh, it was lovely. And there's so much to that character. She's so vulnerable and strong and honest. I'm so rooting for her in a way I didn't think I would when she was first introduced. So
Same. Well, we will have to find out more from her next week.
we will. And on that note, thank you everybody out there for tuning in to Drama After Dark. Thank you folks on Twitch who joined us for the first time. We're super excited to be on Twitch, and hope we can get a nice little following going with y'all. And join us back next week for the second episode of Roadkill. Have a great week. Bye.
And vote!
Oh, please vote!